transition is one of the most used words today in bass fishing. You hear about the weather transitioning, bass are transitioning, and then you hear about fishing specific transition areas. One of these transition areas you hear about is rock transitions. Well, today in this video, Johnny, Matt, and myself are going to dive into how we fish rock transitions. You're going to get to learn about how we fish rock transitions in different parts of the country, so it will help you put more fish in the boat. Hey y'all, welcome back. That's a good 2.25 pound fish. This is my second one right here, y'all. Look at that thing. He ate that Carolina rig. Okay guys, so what we have here, as you just saw me catch that fish, is a simple rock transition. And this is something that I like to target from here on all the way to the early pre-spawn. So right here, we're on a main lake point, okay? And you see the chunk rock that is coming up all the way on this point. Then it kind of starts getting sparse. And then there's a patch right there where it's just dirt and sand. So this rock comes out. And that's one reason what these fish are doing is they're holding right here. There's a lot of bait fish, like I said, it's moving. You know, we're right here in the late fall, getting up into that early winter period. And these fish right here are just sitting off this rock, off this point where there's that dirt patch there. Like I said, it's just an easy spot for them to hide as bait's coming by and as there's other forage. Hey, like I said, just a couple baits you can throw. I mean, your crankbaits are gonna be good. Like I said, the spinner baits, and then you can slow down as I just did with your jig and Carolina rig. So guys, go look for them rock transitions to help you put more fish in the boat.
Next, I'm going to talk about how to target rock transitions on highland reservoirs. Highland reservoirs are basically lakes that have dams at the bottom of the lake that have relatively clear water, let's say 3 to 5 foot of water visibility, and have pretty obvious steep rocky banks. Some great examples of lakes like this are Beaver Lake and Table Rock Lake in the Ozarks regions, and also lakes like Cherokee Lake and Dale Hollow over in Tennessee. The key with these rock transitions in December is that you want to start looking for the bigger rock transitions as opposed to the smaller rock transitions. What I mean by that is that in the springtime or maybe earlier in the fall, bass are going to be on these transitions between chunk rock and pea gravel. So maybe rock the size of a baseball down to just small little pea gravel rock. However, as these water temperatures start to drop into the low 60s, into the 50s, or even the high 40s, the bass are going to want to get around a bigger rock. And so you're going to be looking for areas where you have big boulder rock or just a straight up bluff wall or big slate rock that then transitions into that softball sized chunk rock. These banks are usually going to be steeper, and a lot of times they have a channel swing right out in front of that bank. That's actually one of the easiest ways to find these rock transitions on the highland reservoirs. Pull up your contour line map, find areas where the creek channel swings in really hard to the bank and then swings away. Wherever that creek channel starts to swing away from the bank, you're usually going to have a rock transition from the bigger rock to that chunk rock that I talked about earlier. When I'm targeting these areas, the key is to find the wind-blown banks with these rock transitions. On highland reservoirs, you're going to be dealing with clear water. You're going to have, let's say, 3 to 5 foot of visibility, and therefore to get those fish to actually move up shallow and feed around the bank, you're either going to need some cloud cover or some good wind. The wind is going to help stir up the bait fish, the crawfish in that area, and allow you to catch fish on moving baits. My go-to couple of baits on highland reservoirs, number one is going to be a Megabass Mag Draft swim bait. Whenever the water temperature is above 50 degrees in December, which sometimes it can get colder than that here in my region, but if you have 50-degree water temperature or above, this Mag Draft swim bait is going to get you the biggest bites and a lot of numbers. One trick with this Mag Draft when the water temperature is colder though, is that I like to put a 3/32 ounce nail weight that I slot in right behind the hook and right in the middle of the bait. This is actually going to cause that bait to get a little bit deeper. When I'm fishing this Mag Draft, I'm basically casting it out parallel to these chunk rock banks and these rock transitions and just barely turning the reel handle. You want to get that bait down deep in the water column and moving super slow. With the wind and the chop on the water, the bass won't be able to get a great look at the swim bait, and so even though it's moving very slow through the water column, they're going to come over and eat it. Another great bait to target on these rock transitions, especially if the fish are feeding on crawfish heavily, is going to be a Spro Rock Crawler crankbait. This is the Spro Rock Crawler 55 in the Stone Cold color. This is a little Ozark secret, and it's a regional bait that they don't sell in every region of the country, but if you can get your hands on one, it is deadly. It's basically this brown with a blue bottom. Don't know why the fish target this bait. I know there are some blue crawfish in some of the lakes in my region, but they're very uncommon. But you definitely do have some blue crawfish, so that's kind of an interesting color, and it just flat out catches them in this region of the country. I'm gonna be pairing the Spro rock crawler on the Denali Covert Light 7'2" medium heavy power moderate action crankbait rod. I like a little bit longer rod with this rock crawler so I can make a long cast, and this bait dives anywhere from 9 to 12 feet, so you can get a little bit deeper than you can that mag draft to fish for those fish that might be just a little bit further off the bank in those rock transitions. I'll pair that with 12-pound Sunline FC Snapper fluorocarbon and an Abu Garcia Black Max reel for 50 bucks. For the mag draft swim bait, I'm gonna be throwing that on a Denali 7'2" medium heavy power fast action bait casting rod. The first rod I talked about was a moderate action, but still a 7'2" medium heavy, and the moderate action just has a little more tip to it, which allows you to have a little bit less pressure on those treble hooks when fighting the fish, so the fish don't jump off. And this has crankbait on it for the rod, and this is actually a jig rod, and it's a fast action rod, which allows you to drive the hook home a little bit better. I don't want a super stout rod though for this mag draft because the hooks are still a little bit light on that bait, so you don't need really like a flipping stick or anything like that. And I'm gonna pair that with either 14 or 16-pound Sunline FC Snapper fluorocarbon and a Black Max reel to match. And that's kind of my tricks for fishing rock transitions on highland reservoirs. Now it's the next lake. Really quick, I want to let you guys know about the Black Friday deals that are happening right now on fishthemoment.com. If you head to our website and check out the Black Friday page, you're going to see that we have 40 to 45% off all of our Fish the Moment Sonar settings guides. These guides are my personal settings for all these different fish finders that I spent months figuring out to give you the clearest and best image of both cover and fish on these different fish finders. Instead of wasting hours and hours trying to figure out all the settings yourself, get these Sonar guides and you're going to have the fast track to getting crystal clear images on your fish finder right away. We also published a brand new product, the Fish the Moment Sonar Interpretation Guide, which has images of what fish look like, different species of fish, different species of bait, cover, structure, all these different things that you can use to interpret what you're seeing on your fish finder. Don't be confused about what you're seeing on your screen anymore. Use these example images to know exactly what you're looking for and what you're looking at so you can put more fish in the boat this upcoming year. Now back to the video.
The rock transitions that we have in the upper Midwest and the Northeast on natural lakes is completely different than the rock transitions most people think about anytime you're talking about fishing down south. The rock transitions down south are generally going to relate to your channel swing banks. Maybe you've got a old creek channel or river channel. They're caused because you have current flow that carves away at the banks. Up in the northern part of the world, our rock transitions are going to be natural lakes where you just have a rock transition that goes from a rock flat to a sand flat, maybe a gravel flat. It's not generally going to be just bank related. A lot of these occur out on offshore flats. They may be in 4 feet of water. They may be in 25 feet of water. But the key here is the fish in the northern part of the world use them very similar as fish down south. The rock transition is still going to be a transition route, a travel route for those fish to get from one area to another. So if you're talking about fall fishing, those fish that were up on these flats in the summer are going to follow that rock transition, that actual change of character from the rock to the sand to deeper water areas that they're going to spend the wintering months. So it's very much a transitional route, just like the fish down south are using. They're just located in different areas. These rock transitions are really easy to identify. You can, if you're on a clear body of water, you can do them just with your own eyes. You can actually see the change in color go from a sand bottom composition to a rock bottom composition. Generally, you're just looking for the light colored sand water to meet up with the dark colored rock water. And if you can't see it because the water clarity is a little bit off or you're in water that's too deep, you can get on your electronics and start using your side imaging. You can find those rock transitions real easy. One tip that I love to do is anytime I'm going down the rock transition, I love to throw a bunch of waypoints right on the line so that when I come back and fish, I just have to go down that rock transition waypoint line that I set up. It's a very easy thing to do, but it makes sure that my casts are always in the strike zone. The majority of fish that you're going to catch in these areas are on these travel routes. They're right where that rock meets the sand. It's not like there's going to be some fish still up on the rock flats. There's going to be some fish maybe running around on the sand flats. But the reality is the majority of those fish are going to be running that line where that rock meets the sand. Now, a couple of things I like to point out anytime I'm fishing a rock transition on a natural lake. This is an area that could be very much a largemouth spot, a smallmouth spot, but the main thing to remember is you fish them very similar to like a break line or a weed line. You want to identify those irregularities, whether that's a point in the rocks, maybe you've got an isolated weed clump that sets up. It could be really anything, but you're looking for those irregularities along that transition line to be your high percentage areas to fish. If I'm fishing in 10 foot of water or less, generally speaking, I'm going to be looking at fishing drop shots or Ned rigs. One of my favorites is a Berkeley Fusion 19 jig head matched up with a Berkeley Maxcent Little General. Very good combination for fishing those shallow flats. Another great bait is to throw a jerk bait. Just anywhere you're talking about fishing those transition lines, a jerk bait, and I'm going to say 20 foot of water or less if you've got extreme visibility is a great bait. But one of the keys to fishing these rock transitions is there is no right or wrong bait. You can almost make work any sort of bait on these areas because you could be fishing them in 2 foot of water or you could be fishing them in 50 feet of water. The takeaway here is that rock transition is your high percentage area. That's going to be where primarily the majority of those fish are going to be. So if you're fishing that rock transition, you're definitely going to increase the number of fish that you're going to catch.
We appreciate you watching today's video on Bass Fishing Declassified. If you have not, subscribe to the channel as it's free and we're trying to give you quality content to help you put more fish in the boat no matter where you're at in the country. Thank you for watching and we'll see you next time.